Yo guys, it's your boy Mikey. Today we're talking about the mysterious green butterfly ritual. It's like a demonic ritual to summon, a demon named Astaroth. And Astaroth, I don't know how you pronounce it, but you can basically, this demon appears in like it's like an ancient deity for like the Canaanites, Philistines, and Phoenicians also. Like it appears in the Bible like countless times. And we should also say that Solomon was led astray by, Astaroth, and he built temples for them. Like basically it's not a deity, like it was a deity for like agriculture and fertility and something like that. And Solomon was also led astray and built a temple to this Ashtaroth. So this mysterious green butterfly ritual is supposed to ritual. You need to, uh, they used to invoke this Ashtaroth deity, which is basically a demon. And Bible heavily condemns any form of worship or other summoning of like Ashtaroth or any demon whatsoever. So let's just take a look into this mysterious green butterfly ritual. I think this channel name says Billy L. He does a pretty good job. It's up to the.
Before we get into the ritual itself, I should provide a brief explanation of Solomonic magic and Grimorium Verum, for those of you who haven't seen my Occult Demonology guide.
Bro. Like, I love this dude, but imagine if your room was like this, bro. Like, it's crazy.
Grimorium Verum, for those of you who haven't seen my Occult Demonology guide. Solomonic magic refers to demonic conjuring methods based on the teachings of King Solomon, specifically the Testament of Solomon and the Greater Key of Solomon. There is an entire chapter on King Solomon and his testament in my Occult Demonology guide, and
Yeah, I don't believe this document about the Greater Key of Solomon and Solomon's. Those accounts are pseudographical. It's not much of like a verification if it's attributed to Solomon or like anyone close to Solomon wrote those works. So, like, every time someone quotes from like the pseudographical works of like Keys of Solomon, anything like that, I find it like I find it like and they attributed to Solomon doing black magic. I heavily doubt those claims.
plan on doing a video specifically on this topic as well, so I don't want to dwell too long on it here, but long story short, King Solomon is a king of Israel who is mentioned in the Bible, most notably in 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, and 2 Chronicles. And because of this, he is a very notable figure in all of the Abrahamic religions. However, legend tells a story of King Solomon not found in the Bible. You see, among occultists, or those who study the mystic arts, Solomon is believed to have been one of the greatest exorcists and practitioners of magic to ever live. In fact, 99% of the time, whenever you hear someone talking about any kind of demon summoning magic, they are usually referring to Solomonic magic, as there really isn't much documentation for any other kind of demonic summoning. Now, this all stems from a book called the
Yeah, the Testament of Solomon, which basically is pseudographical work. There's no veracity that it's associated with Solomon in any regard whatsoever, and it's written on like the later points in time.
of Solomon, which claims to be a first-hand account written by King Solomon himself. It describes a story in which God grants King Solomon the power to command demons. The testament
Modern scholars can easily verify that it doesn't being attributed to Solomon in any regard whatsoever.
contains a series of interview-like conversations that Solomon has with a variety of different demons, making it the oldest known text that deals in information on individual demons. However, it should be noted that its authenticity
And
is highly debated, as most research
Testament of Solomon like, talks about a lot of things. Like Solomon was given a ring, some kind of ring with the Star of David on it, so he can control any demons to build the Temple of Solomon. So he used a lot. I read that text document. Like he uses different like demons for construction of the construction of the first temple. And if you wear this ring, the demons are always subjected to you. Like it's kind of crazy. You guys should take a look at that Testament of Solomon.
agree that the testament was likely written many years after Solomon's death, almost 2,000 years after, in fact. The real author is a complete mystery, one that is likely to
Yeah, it's basically pseudographical work. It's not even like real.
never be solved. Regardless of its true origins, however, the Testament of Solomon, as far as we know, is the origin of Solomonic magic teachings, and the inspiration behind almost every demonic summoning grimoire that exists today, including the famous Greater and Lesser Keys of Solomon, and the book in which today's ritual comes from, Grimorium Verum. I bring this all up because it's important to know that Solomonic magic is not the evil horror movie demon summoning rituals that you might expect. As I said, Solomon's magic came from God, and Solomonic magic is very reflective of that. Most Solomonic rituals are done by invoking the name of God and reciting many prayers and confessions. The concept behind it is that you are using the power of God to force a demon to obey you, as opposed to summoning the demon as an ally or in order to worship it. In fact, according to the Greater Key of Solomon, another book allegedly written by King Solomon himself, that is essentially the textbook that most occult writers have used to create the other grimoires we have today, it stresses that before performing any of the conjurations within the text, one must fear God, adore God, honor God, and invoke his name for protection. You must also confess your sins and rid yourself of all evil. So, summoning a demon is not really the evil satanic ritual that Hollywood might have you believe it to be. However, that is not to say that there aren't some Solomonic texts and rituals that are somewhat disturbing, and even some that are shunned by practitioners and researchers of that field. Which brings me to Grimorium Verum. Grimorium Verum is a Solomonic grimoire from the 18th century, believed to have been originally written in French or Italian. However, it claims to be written in 1517 by a man named Alabek the Egyptian, a claim that scholars and historians have deemed to be very likely false, at least as far as the date goes. But either way, Grimorium Verum, like every other Solomonic grimoire, is heavily influenced by the Greater Key of Solomon. However, it differs slightly from other Solomonic grimoires because of its inclusion of more frowned upon practices. Typically, Solomonic rituals are very tame.
Like, I don't want to be like a party pooper or anything. Like, people who read these kinds of grimoires and demonic texts, what a bad shit happened to these people, bro. Like, none of you guys that's not having any imperative or should not read any kind of demonic grimoire whatsoever. It will ruin your life, so stay away from those texts and documents.
Very involved and complicated, but tame nonetheless.
I'm not gonna stop you if you want to read it. Go ahead and read it. Like, but bad shit always happens. Something bad always happens.
Outside of a select few rituals, Solomonic grimoires tend to avoid the use of blood specifically, as that is believed by some to be more or less connected to black magic or diabolic witchcraft. Grimorium Verum, however, contains many rituals that include the use of your own blood or that of various animals, and even goes as far as to instruct its reader to use a human skull and perform live animal sacrifices, which, again, according to many occultists, leans too heavily towards black magic. So, Grimorium Verum states that there are three central demonic powers: Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Astaroth. The ritual that we are about to discuss calls upon the third power, Ashtaroth. I will at some point do an entire video on Astaroth as well as any other notable demon, but for the purpose of this video, I think it might be valuable to learn at least a little bit about Astaroth before we talk about summoning him. To give you a very summarized version of Astaroth's origins, it originates from a Phoenician and Canaanite goddess of fertility, love, war, and hunting known as Astarte, or sometimes Ashtaroth. Or it might be more accurate to say that the origins of this entity goes even farther back to the earliest known civilization, ancient Mesopotamia, where the Sumerians knew her as Inanna, and later the Babylonians knew her as Ishtar. In fact, this goddess appears across multiple different mythologies and pagan religions throughout history. The Greeks knew her.
Whenever there's references of the single figure in like different mythologies and shit, these beings or this deity, like not a deity, like this kinds, it is related to like a fallen angel before the flood. You can attribute its existence before the flood
as Aphrodite. The Romans knew her as Venus, and the Egyptians knew her as Isis, to name a few. But as I'm sure many of you are aware, especially if you've seen my other videos, in the wake of Christianity, all pagan gods and goddesses were demonized and labeled as evil spirits. And so it was that the benevolent goddess Ashtaroth had become the demon Astaroth, although it hardly carries any relation to the goddess outside of its namesake. Now, because today's ritual
it is 100% a demon,
to summon Astaroth is within a Solomonic grimoire, Grimorium Verum, I think the final thing I should share here is what the Lesser Key of Solomon says about Astaroth. Astaroth is the 29th spirit in the Lesser Key of Solomon's famous list of 72 demons sealed by King Solomon, the Ars Goetia. The description of Astaroth is as follows: He is a mighty strong duke, and appeareth in the form of a hurtful angel, riding on an infernal beast like a dragon, and carrying in his right hand a viper. Thou must in no wise let him approach too near unto thee, lest he do thee damage by his noisome breath. Wherefore the magician must hold the magical ring near his face, and that will defend him. He giveth true answers of things past, present, and to come, and can discover all secrets. He will declare wittingly how the spirits fell, if desired, and the reason of his own fall. He can make men wonderfully knowing in all liberal sciences. He ruleth 40 legions of spirits. His seal is this, which thou wear as a lambent before thee, or else he will not appear, nor yet obey thee. So according to this, when summoning Astaroth, it is important to keep the magical ring by your face to protect you from his breath.
Yeah, did he paint his fingernails black? Come on, bro,
to keep the magical ring by your face to protect you from his breath, and also to wear his seal on you or he will not appear or obey you. I explained these things in the Occult Demonology guide, but the magical ring or disc of Solomon is a symbol to be made out of gold or silver and held up to your face to protect you from a demon's sulphurous and flaming breath. The demon's seal or sigil is very important in Solomonic magic, and is typically worn as a pendant or breastplate on your chest. On screen now is Astaroth's seal as shown in the Lesser Key of Solomon. However, this varies greatly from the seal of Astaroth on screen now provided in Grimoire Verum. Anyways, now that we have a general idea of what Solomonic magic is, what Grimoire Verum is, and who Astaroth is, let's finally talk about the strange ritual known as the green butterfly. So first of all, it should be noted that this actually doesn't appear in the original Grimoire Verum from Alabec, but rather somewhat mysteriously originates from a later 1830 translation from the French publisher Blacquel. It's mysterious because Alabec's version draws mostly from the Greater Key of Solomon, but Blacquel's version draws from Alabec's version and adds things from another famous grimoire known as the Grimoire of Pope Honorius. But I've found no mention of this.
Bro, if you're that deep into demonology and all this, like, you will paint your fingernails black, bro.
Green butterfly ritual in any of those books. It just sort of shows up in the 1830 translation of Grimoire Verum, and I can't determine its origins, which makes it kind of creepy, in a way. Anyways, as I said earlier, unlike most demonic summoning rituals that originate, or at least are believed to originate from King Solomon, this one actually has its own mysterious story behind its origins. It states that around the year of the world 3087, Sasak, king of Egypt, received from a friend who was an unnamed famous necromancer a box made from a single diamond, which held the secret on which his happiness depended. This necromancer gave Sasak the key to the box, but with orders to open it only after a year had passed. Now, I did a bit of digging to find out who this King Sasak was, and I've determined that it's actually talking about King Shoshenq I of Egypt. I know this because the year 3087 on the Hebrew calendar is the year 960 BC. The dates of Shoshenq's reign are debated, but it could go back as far as 962 BC. There are also many different pronunciations and spellings of his name, and I'm not sure if I'm even pronouncing any of these right, but they include Shashank, Shishonk, and Shishonk with a Q, and he is believed to be the same Egyptian king mentioned in the Hebrew Bible by the name Shishak, Shishak with a Q, Susak, and Sisak. I'm probably butchering those names, but the name we have in Grimoire Verum, Sasak, is what I assume to be some sort of French translation. Interestingly enough, the Bible tells us that King Shishak actually attacked Jerusalem just 5 years after the death of King Solomon, and stole treasures from Solomon's palace and temple. Not really related to the green butterfly ritual, but it's interesting that he would be directly connected to Solomon. Anyways, back to the story. So after Sasak received this diamond box from his unnamed necromancer friend, he was obliged to go combat his enemies, and so he departed, giving the box to his wife for safekeeping, but keeping the key with him. Sasak, however, would not be returning from battle, and the key was lost. His wife tried every means to open the box without breaking it, but it was in vain. It could not be opened without the key. However, since the box was of great value by itself, she decided to gift it to the Emperor of China, and it remained in his family unopened for over 2,000 years. Grimoire Verum claims that in the year 1607, the box was stolen by a Jewish man in service of the court, and it was brought to Europe. It doesn't elaborate on why it was.
Of course, the Jew that stole it. Couldn't get more obvious.
Stolen, but fearful of being caught with the box, the thief broke it open, and inside was the Kabbalah of the green butterfly. Alright, without further ado, let's take a look at the mysterious green butterfly ritual allegedly found in King Sasak's diamond box. The instructions are as follows. In the month of May, June, or July, towards noon, travel to the forest closest to your house and say the oration of the salamanders. An oration, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the term, is sort of like a ceremonial speech, or in this case it's more like a prayer. The oration of the salamander can be found in a different part of Grimoire Verum, and I will read it to you now. Immortal, eternal, ineffable, and holy Father of all the things, you who are carried on the chariot that turns the world continuously, dominating the ethereal countries where the throne of your power is raised, from the summit of which your formidable eyes see all, and your holy ears hear all. Hear the children who you have loved from birth of all the ages, for your duration is great and eternal. Your majesty blazes over the world and the heavens and the stars, and you are elevated over them. O sparkling fire which ignites itself with your own splendor, and comes from your essence inexhaustible streams of light, which nourish your infinite spirit. This infinite spirit produces all things, and creates this inexhaustible treasure of matter that cannot fail with the generation which always surrounds it, because of the form without number by which she is pregnant, and wherewith you have filled it since the beginning. From this spirit also these most holy kings draw their origin, who stand around your throne and compose your court. O universal Father, O only Father of happy mortals and immortals, you have in particular created powers which are marvelously similar to your thoughts and your adorable essence, which powers you have established above the angels who announce the world your will. Lastly, you created in the elements a third quality of monarchs, and our continuous exercise is to praise and adore your will, such that we burn to possess you. O Father, O most tender mother among mothers, O admirable example of the feelings and tenderness of mothers, O Son, O flower of all sons, soul, spirit, harmony, and number of all the orders, preserve us, protect us, guide us, and be... What the f*** is that? Propitious? The word I am idiot.
Bro, you don't have to get this dramatic. You don't have to turn the lights off and get this dramatic, bro. Like, you can just show the text on the screen. You can, like, this is so extra.
about to say is propitious, meaning to give or indicate a good chance of success. Favorable. And be propitious to us. Amen. Jesus, talk about a fucking run-on sentence. Prayers like this are used in almost every Solomonic ritual to ask God for protection and guidance during the ritual. After you read this, you must seek out the largest tree in the forest, climb up onto one of the largest branches, and strike 30 times on a copper pan. Upon doing this, you will see a flight of green-winged butterflies coming towards you. You must then catch the largest one, if you can, and put it in a virgin snuff box.
Bro, this much instruction to summon a demon, like... Like, I just want to talk to it. I just want to talk. Like, you have to go through this much instructions, read the instruction manual, catch a green butterfly. This is too much work.
A snuff box is a container used frequently in the 18th century for holding snuff, a mixture of ground tobacco and scented oils. They would now likely only be found in antique shops and museums. It's unclear exactly what it means by virgin snuff box, but I assume it just means one that has not been used prior to the ritual. Now, on the following page, it provides an illustration of what the butterfly will look like, and on the page after that, there are more specific instructions on how to capture it. It states that it must be caught with a butterfly net, the hoop of which must be at least 9 inches in diameter, and the depth should be about 15 inches. The handle should be between 9 and 10 feet long. Why?
Bro, who the fuck uses a butterfly net?
It doesn't say. You are to place flowers on the hoop and inside the net on which the butterflies can come to rest. This means of attracting them continuously will soon provide occasion to catch one of them. Now, you may be wondering, why a green butterfly? What does that have to do with summoning Astaroth? Well, Grimorium Verum doesn't actually elaborate on this at all, but there could be a few different reasons. For one, green butterflies are actually not very common, so that could in some way increase its value for use in occult rituals. However, I think we may find our answer by taking a look at what the color green represented in ancient Egypt, since this ritual claims its origins to be there. Green to the ancient Egyptians, and also to much of the world still today, represents regeneration, life, and vegetation. Interestingly enough, the color green was also used for the skin of the Egyptian god Osiris, who represented fertility, death, and the afterlife. Ancient Egyptian scarab amulets were also often green to represent the beetle's symbolic connection to rebirth and immortality, and were sometimes worn to protect against diseases. The color green was also associated with the flooding of the Nile, which ensured farmlands remained fertile. It's worth noting also that in some beliefs a green butterfly is considered lucky, and to be a sign that you will soon come into financial or material wealth. With all that in mind, it's easy to see how a green butterfly might be significant in some occult beliefs, especially within a ritual that claims to originate from ancient Egypt. Anyways, after you
I have never even seen a green butterfly.
capture the largest green butterfly in your snuff box, you are to return home and light a beautiful fire using alder wood, pouring 3 liters of brandy little by little, having care to watch the flames as the liquor is spent. When your fire has died, you must place the box containing your green butterfly in the ashes for 38 hours, after which you are to take it out and bring it to a parish and place the box under the largest candelabra on the altar, which is just one of those multi-candle holder things.
Bro, this many instructions? I just want to talk to a demon. Like, what the fuck? You gotta go through this many instructions? Crazy.
You go to church and hear mass, and make a general confession. Note that the Italian translation states that you can just make this confession mentally, as opposed to a traditional confession. After this, on the feast day of your patron saint, or according to the Italian version, just on a day of your choosing, around midnight, lock your room. Just to clarify, a patron saint is a saint who's sort of assigned to watch over a specific place, church, people, or person. And for the most part, each saint has some sort of historical relationship with these people or places. However, in Roman Catholicism, a person will often choose their own personal saint, and it seems that this is what the ritual here might be referring to. Either that or the patron saint of the church you attended the previous day or something. So you would need to determine who your patron saint is, or just choose one, and follow the next steps on their feast day, which is normally just the day that they died or another day assigned by the church. Anyways, if you had a patron saint, you would probably know when their feast day is. Not that any of that matters if the Italian version just says to choose a day. So as I was saying, on this day, the ritual instructs you to lock your room around midnight, having made the grand appellation, which you will find in the true book, The Red Dragon. Now this is strange because what it's referencing here is another grimoire known as the Red Dragon, or the Grand Grimoire. This is another grimoire
Bro, I also had to read another instruction manual. This is crazy.
that, like Grimorium Verum, is quite notorious for its somewhat diabolical contents. But again, this is another thing that brings into question the legitimacy of this ritual's origins, because the earliest date we have for the Red Dragon Grimoire is in the 1400s, but it's more likely to have been first created in the early 1700s. So again, how would King Sasak be expected to reference this other grimoire in 960 BC, when it wasn't made yet? Unless you assume that this grand appellation is far more ancient than both the Red Dragon and Grimorium Verum, and was originally with the Kabbalah of the Green Butterfly, but for whatever reason didn't make it into Grimorium Verum. I don't know. There's rarely a conclusive answer for this stuff. Let's get back to the ritual. So what is this grand appellation that it wants you to make? Well, depending on which version of the Red Dragon you're reading, it's sometimes referred to as the Great Invocation or the Grand Conjuration, and it's basically the thing you read in order to make the demon appear. Now, I think it's worth noting that within the Red Dragon Grimoire, this grand appellation is actually the last step of a much longer ritual to conjure a demon that includes reading 3 invocations prior to it, as well as saying prayers, making offerings, and all sorts of very detailed steps. Within the context that it appears in the Red Dragon, the grand appellation is actually a last resort, only to be read if the demon does not appear after all the other steps. However, the Green Butterfly ritual does not call for any of the prior steps to be followed. It seems to simply want you to just read the grand appellation. Keep in mind though that it's difficult to tell if maybe Grimorium Verum expects its readers to be fully aware of the steps within the Red Dragon Grimoire that come before reading the grand appellation, and so maybe in telling you to make the grand appellation, it does expect you to follow all the other steps detailed within the Red Dragon Grimoire. However, this logically doesn't make much sense because if you were doing the entirety of the ritual found in the Red Dragon Grimoire, there would be no need to do the Green Butterfly ritual. It would just be extra steps for the same result. Let's not dwell on that for today. I can definitely go over the ritual in the Red Dragon another time. For now though, let's just take the instructions at face value and assume that it just needs you to read the grand appellation on its own. This is what you would say. I conjure you, O spirit, to appear this very minute by the force of the great Adonai, by Elohim, by Ariel, by Jehovah, by Agla, Tegla, Mathon, Arios Almuzin, Arios Menbrot, Varios Pythona Megots, Silphe Cabos Salamandra, Tabats Nomus Terre, Golis Godins, Aqua Genua Janua, Itituamus, Zeriat Natmik, AEAJATMOAA, MVPMSCSTGT, CGAGJEZ. Okay, cool, he's not here. Probably because I pronounced most of those names wrong, but they were on the screen for you to read if you were going to attempt to pronounce them correctly. According to
Whoa, you had to pronounce them correctly? Like, what the fuck?
the Green Butterfly ritual, if you... That's funny. The page just...
And if you actually have this room and you're lighting candles and shit, I would be actually be sweating in this room. Like, the aesthetic is crazy, but like, of course, it's a dude who actually paints his fingernails, so I'm not actually that surprised. But if you had to sit this room to make content, it's crazy.
flipped by itself sort of to a page about offerings, almost as if Astaroth's like, hey man, you forgot this part. We're not doing that ritual, bro. Anyways, according to the Green Butterfly ritual, if you followed all the previous steps correctly, after reading that invocation, Astaroth will appear before you. I realize now while editing that I probably should have explained what the hell I just said. Basically, you are invoking the names of spirits that are superior to Astaroth in order to force him to appear before you.
Yeah, that's this kind of script is basically used in Testament of Solomon. When Solomon used his ring to summon, the demons. Like, you can actually read the Testament of Solomon. Like, you have to use the name of God and other archangels and shit to actually like summon a demon. Like, only then the demons will be imperative to listen to you
and obey you. Most of the names here, such as Adonai, Elohim, Ariel, Jehovah, Egla, Tegla, Mathon, Almuzin, Janua, and Zeriat Natmik are simply different names for God. Menbrot is a demon also known as Membrot, Nambroth, and Nambrot, who is listed in the Grimoire of Pope Honorius as one of the 4 demons who are superior to all others, as opposed to the 3 in Grimorium Verum. This would be Lucifer, Beelzebub, Astaroth, and Nambroth. And I couldn't find any valuable information on the rest of the names. Likely just more names for God or other spirits superior to Astaroth. And then all the letters I said were just the initials of those names. Okay, now back to what the past me was saying. After reading that invocation, Astaroth will appear before you. He will ask you for your orders, and he will carry out without reply anything you demand from him. Now, while it does say that he will carry out anything you demand, the next page does provide a list of 14 things that Astaroth can do for you. They are as follows. He discloses all hidden...
First of all, the demons don't do shit for you for free. That's always a demonic contract. Like, there's always some kind of catch to it. Like, it's always like this. Demons would give you money, fame, and everything you ask for. All these kinds of things written on this list. But after your death, your soul will eternally be a slave to that demon. Like, it's always some kind of contract with a catch. Like, they will never do shit for you for free. That's what they're known as demons in the first place.
treasures to you up to 10 leagues distance. He introduces to you the person you will marry. He reveals the age when you will marry. He leads to your room any person that you wish. He reveals the more hidden secrets of nature. He brings you a sum sufficient for living the rest of your days. He indicates the remedies that will be effective in all diseases. He removes from your fields and house hurricanes and harmful animals and anything that might harm your interests. He can declare who your enemies are and who are your friends. He can transport you to any place that appeals to you. He can reveal the numbers that will be drawn a month before the lottery. He gives the power to render you invisible. He can render judges favorable to you so that nobody can speak badly about you. He can make you win at all sorts of games and renders you lucky in all. I think all those things are...
All these things is said this demon can do, God can do in much more efficient, much more optimistic, much more rewarding and fulfilling way. You just have to trust God, bro. You don't have to like summon a demon, do all this shit. Why would it take like an inferior product when you can have the most superior, rewarding, fulfilling product when God will actually reward you all these things you actually asked for? and he will teach you experiences about life. And you have to. He won't give you anything for free, but you have to earn it. But he also, you know, help you throughout all the way, teach you about hardship and all the struggles you need to know in life. Instead of summoning a demon, take an easy way out and turn to be a slave to a demon, like, or one of your family members die all of a sudden because the demons claims their soul. It's always a catch with these demons. So, and what every demon tries to do is actually deceive you. Like what God gives you for free, they ask for the ask they give you with the price tag on it. But it's always like a transaction bill at the end of the deal. Like you're the always one who get the short end of the stick, the bad end of the deal. Like you're the always one who get fucked. That's why I never doing kind of demon or any kind of demon summoning or anything to do with demons. And regardless, just stay away from summoning a demon. Stay away from all that. I heavily condemn anybody who like even studies demonology. Like, this is useless knowledge. Doesn't like help you in what any regard whatsoever.
Pretty self-explanatory, so I don't really need to dive into it farther than that. Basically, summoning Astaroth is like a cheat code for life. Love, riches, health, protection, luck, and knowledge. Astaroth, according to Grimorium Verum, can bring you all of this. In fact, these types of things are quite...
You think the universe will give you anything for free? It has a cheat code will give you. Demons always work on some kind of a catch.
Commonly the goal for most demonic summoning rituals, not just in regards to Astaroth and the green butterfly ritual. But that's it. That's the entirety of the green butterfly ritual. I may have stretched it out with background information, but
yeah, why does this dude not even actually giving a warning? Like, there be dumbass who actually do this kind of thing, and they will ruin their life. Like, I'm not even kidding, bro.
Compared to most other rituals, this one is quite short. It's not even 2 full pages in Grimorium Verum. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of it, and be sure to let me know if you enjoyed hearing all the steps in more complete detail so I know if I should cover more rituals in the future. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, before you go, I do have one other thing I want to talk to you about, and that is a little competition I'm a part of called...
Oh my god, I thought he was gonna condemn, summoning a demon. Like, this dude's opening competition and shit, bro. Like, crazy. So that's about it. I heavily condemn any form of demon summoning, demon magic, whatsoever. Trust God, God and only. And God will give you anything you ask for free without a price. And He will give you the much more rewarding and fulfilling way. So, trust God and nothing else. Like and sub.